Welcome back to the What Worked For Me podcast. Today we have Josh, and I'm really excited to talk with Josh today. He's lost over 200 pounds. I can't wait. I got to talk with him briefly before this podcast. Josh, thanks for coming on. He has a great story and some awesome things. If you want to check out his stuff in the description, we'll have all that listed below. So, Josh, we were talking before this, and it said you got all the way up to about 450 pounds. So, were
Or
you
80. Yeah.
480, sorry, 480
Yeah.
pounds.
Sorry.
Were,
Yeah.
were you, I mean, no one starts out at 480 pounds. Did you grow up like a bigger guy? Did that come later in life? What's the beginning of this story? How did you start gaining that weight to begin with?
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. So I grew up with four siblings, right? And so when my dad would make us spaghetti, he would take everybody's plate and he'd shovel it, all the leftovers onto my plate as a kid. And he'd be like, "You're my football player. Come on, get big, get big," you know.
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming him entirely, but I I started playing football when I was about 9 or 10, and I was instantly an X-Man, so I was always a bigger kid, you know, and my dad would feel my knees. I remember we'd sit in church and he would like slap my knees and be like, "You just got big bones," you know? And so I was always this big, beefy kid, right? And I always wanted to play football. Like it was a dream of mine as a kid, and I did it and played football all through, through adolescence, growing up in high school, and then I got to college and I played in college for a year, and then I decided I wanted to get into strongman because in strongman you just have to be strong. You could have a gut, you can eat what you want, and so I started going down that path at a young age.
So it sounds like a lot of the size was coming on for athletics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of a catch that a lot of us big guys get caught in, where like you're naturally big and then coaches want you to be bigger. So you start kind of chasing down that path. So when you were competing in strongman, is that when you got to your biggest all the way up to 480, or was that after you got done competing? When did that occur?
Yeah, actually, when I was competing in strongman, I was not competing at a super high level. As you're from Utah, you know the Highlander Games and
Yeah.
things like that, and so I was in the Highlander Games 2 years, 3 years, I think, and I was excited because I could lift heavy stuff and people's eyes would get real big when I could pull a big chain, or if my cousins got stuck when I was growing up for like a four-wheeler or like a snowmobile, I was the guy that they came to ask to help them get it out because I was a big guy, so I could lift heavy stuff naturally, and yeah, so I just was competing kind of passively, and I hurt my back in a competition. And as I was eating, 10,000 calories a day, I was at like, I wouldn't say a lean 450, but I was at more of a athletic 450, I guess, and strongman. And so I was still quick, I was still agile, and I was competing, but I was also lifting weights and lifting cars and whatever, deadlifting cars when I was 450. And then I hurt my back, shot up to 480 because I kept eating my 10,000 calorie diet just because I wanted to. And I was, depressed and all that. But when I was recovering from my injury, I was just eating away, and unfortunately, Crumble Cookie was right down the street from me, and
Get
my
everybody.
my
It's crumble
yeah,
cookies are
my
addicting, dude.
yeah, yeah. My wife at the time, her best friend was the manager at Crumble Cookie, and so she would just bring us over the leftovers every night, these piping hot four cookies for the day, the boxes. And before I even brought it up to her, I'd be like, "Oh, she only brought us one," and I'd literally down three of those crumble cookies before I got it upstairs. Like it was kind of like you think about it, it was kind of demonic of me to just,
Yeah.
be eating like it was nothing, So I just had this endless pit.
So that's a hard transition when you're used to performing and being at that high level of athletics, and then all of a sudden the exercise is gone. the appetite remains, and so then you just start creeping up. So when you hit 480, what was that trigger point where you're like, okay, now I have to make a change, like something has to change right now?
Yeah, so when I actually it was the thought came to me when my scale read error, right? ERR,
Oh
because
my gosh.
I was over 400. So I believe my scale went up to 399, and once it hit error, I just hit this level of low and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what have I done?" And but my wife was like, "Okay, let's go on Amazon. Like they've got scales that go above that." And so we are looking at this scale that was I think she searched like over 500 pound scale or something like that. And we got it in the mail and I stepped on the scale and I was immediately mortified because I was up to 460 already. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And then we went on a trip and to California, and I was asked to get off the plane. We're in the back, and even with an extender, I couldn't get my seatbelt clicked. And the stewardess she felt horrible, but she's like, "Sir, I'm so sorry, but we just can't have you on here if you can't click your seatbelt." And so I took my first walk of shame um, when I was 460, and we drove to California, whatever, and then my second walk of shame came immediately after that. I was on Space Mountain and I couldn't get the lever down to get, to click. And the teenage manager of Space Mountain crouched down next to me and he goes, "Sir, I know that you're going to be able to get that down eventually. You're going to just force it down." He goes, "Unfortunately, we have to kind of pump it to get it up again." And he said, "We've had this before where we couldn't get someone out of the ride and we had to call the fire department. They came with the jaws of life, shut the ride down for the entire day, and you can either leave right now or we can have that situation." And I was just like, so I took two walks of shame within a couple days, and I was like, what am I doing to myself? And
I kind of
it
feel
was
like the
horrible,
universe was
man.
giving you signs that you were like, I got
Oh my heck. The universe was like, "Wake up, what are you doing?"
it.
So it was brutal. It was a brutal couple days, and my wife, bless her heart, at the time, she was like, "I'll love you for however you are," but and then I think like right after I walked out of there, I believe I went and got like these cinnamon fries or something like that because I was depressed and sad and I dare say even suicidal at that point. And but I was still eating these funnel cakes and this garbage that it was the only comfort at the time was just sugar and carbs. So it was kind of a crazy time, man.
That's crazy. So you get back from the trip. Was it pretty immediate after that? You're like, okay, I got to start making some changes. Did it take a few months? What started
Yeah.
happening?
It took another walk of shame, actually. I we went to, my favorite place is Red Lobster when they have the unlimited shrimp.
Yep.
And we went to unlimited shrimp, and this was probably like, a couple months later, I think. And um I was told after my 10th plate of um a refill of fried shrimp that they said no more. Like we're done. Like you have to be done. And I was like, but we paid for unlimited shrimp. And, and so if you're getting cut off at unlimited shrimp, you got a problem. So I seriously, man. But then I went into the doctor's office and the doctor was like, "Yeah, you're 480." And I was like, "Gosh." And he's like, "You're the biggest patient I've ever had." Like he's like, "You need to get it together." And it was right then, a lot of other things happen in that time frame, but my wife and I decided to go through a divorce, unfortunately, and I just decided at that point, at that like restart, I guess you would say, of life that I got three kids from my first marriage. My second marriage just failed. Like I got to get it together, And so my brother actually, God bless his heart, he told me one day, he challenged me to start doing push-ups, and so I started doing push-ups on my knees, and I could barely get two push-ups without just feeling like I literally wanted to just pass out. I mean, it was really it got to a point where I was deadlifting cars at 450, and at 480 it was like I could barely even move. And I was like, what is happening? And
Uh,
my one brother challenged me to do push-ups, and so I started doing push-ups on my knees. And then my other brother challenged me to start going on a walk every day. He's like, dude, just go for a walk every morning. Just right when you wake up, put on your shoes, like before you even go to the bathroom, put on your shoes. And so I just started putting on my shoes, man, and literally I'd go to the bathroom, then I'd go for a walk. And half a mile turned into 1 mile, 1 mile turned into 5 miles. And before I knew it, in 2022, I walked 5 million steps in 2022. So it
wow, that's
was
a lot
kind
of
of
steps.
crazy.
How many is that a day? Is that feet?
5 million steps is, it's at least 20,000 steps a
Yeah,
day. And
that's a
but
lot of
then
steps.
in yeah, then 2023 I was like, I'm gonna break it. So I did 7.3 million in 2023. And that is like 30,000 steps a
Yeah,
day.
that's
So
a
it was
ton.
crazy.
And you have to be a pretty tall guy. How tall are you?
I'm 6'3". Yeah, I'm a
Yeah,
big
because I'm
guy.
your same height, so I know that's. I mean, you're probably doing 12 miles a day then, ish.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, at
because I
least.
know for me, I can if I hit 10,000 steps, it's usually 4 or 5-ish miles to get there. So I'm sure
Oh
you're
yeah.
doing at least 10, 15 miles a day. And you're just where did you start running at this point? Or were you walking? What was the just walking?
No. No, man, it was just all walking. Like 5 miles is 10,000 steps. So
Yeah.
with 5 miles, I would just do two 5 mile walks in a day. And I'd start out every morning, fasted stomach. I would do 5 miles. And like I can't even tell you how many times I have walked around the city of Sandy just everywhere. I have this Garmin watch, and it shows me everywhere I go, and it's pretty fascinating. But then I found this little path, called the Jordan River walkway or whatever, and I started walking that, and it's awesome. I love it. But yeah, so I did 7.3 million steps in 2023, and then I hit 280, and so I lost 200 pounds, and I was like feeling so good and feeling
Okay, we
so
gotta slow
full of
down.
life.
You just skipped over. You lost 200 pounds. So
Sorry. So
so
I just jumped over
yeah.
it.
Okay. So in you start out at 480. Did your nutrition change at all, or was it just the walking? What happened
Oh
during
yeah.
these 2 years that it was 2 years, right? A year and a
Oh
half.
yeah, it was 2 years. Yeah, it was 2022, 23 that I really hit it hard. But the biggest thing, sorry, I just skipped like a
No, you're good.
whole
You're good.
thing.
I just
But
you just
but
casually threw out like I lost 200 pounds, and I was like, we gotta rewind this a little
hold on. That's the whole point of the podcast. Hold on.
bit.
The journey. So yeah, man. No, in that time frame, I went from 480 to 410 like relatively quick, and it was just because I started moving. And I first foremost I cut out soda. Like that's my Achilles heel. I love soda. Anytime now, even today, if I hear just that people cracking open a can of Dr. Pepper, Coke, anything, I start salivating still. And um, but that was the first thing that had to go. I didn't want to do diet. I don't like the artificial sweeteners. And so I cut out soda completely, and I also cut out fried foods 100%. And so I made some sacrifices, and then I got stuck again at 410, And my brother Jason, he actually challenged me again. The guy the brother who challenged me to start walking, he started talking to me about the keto diet, and he's like, "Hey man, there's this crazy thing that if you get into what's called ketosis, then you'll start just burning fat as fuel instead of glucose or carbs, and you'll start shedding, you'll start melting. It's crazy." And so I was stuck at 410 for a couple months and I was super frustrated.
How
And
does
then
how did that feel? Because it sounds like so four t or yeah, so you lost the first 70 pounds super quick,
yeah.
just cutting out those couple things. What kept you going when you hit those plateaus? When you hit that 410 plateau for a couple months, where how did you not let that ruin your journey?
Yeah, that's a good question too because I was, the highest X I got up to, I guess, XL was 6XL when I was 480. I was up to 6XL and I had to go to the big and tall store, DXL, whatever. And when I was putting on these shirts and trying on pants or whatever, like that was the only place that made me feel like I wasn't just gigantic and disgusting. And so I started wearing these big giant shirts that um I was comfortable in. And so the way that I didn't get over the way that I didn't stop was I didn't get rid of any of my clothes. And so I kept wearing clothes that were too big for me. And when people would look at me and be like, "Oh my gosh, man, that's like that shirt is like hanging on you or whatever," like I still I still kept the old wardrobe. And I had this bin in my closet that was marked 2XL clothes, and I was like my goal. That was the goal, was to break open the 2XL bin,
Right, because then you're back
And
in a normal store. You're not shopping
yeah.
at Good Tall anymore.
Yes,
I feel that.
exactly.
So kind of just the vision of getting back in the bin is what kept
Yeah,
me going.
for sure. And then what I put on my whiteboard, I put up a big whiteboard in my room, and I had a giant calendar where I could X off every day I gave myself a step goal. So I started becoming kind of obsessive. I'm an extremist, obviously, with it just in nature, and I started getting obsessed with the steps, right? And so my goal became at least 12,500 steps every day. So that was at least 6 miles a day, like hands down. I didn't care what I did. I couldn't go to sleep until I hit 12,500 steps. That just was a number that kind of stuck in my head. But every day I woke up and I looked over at my whiteboard and it was like, start your day with a walk, And that is what really kept me going, was start your day with a walk. And that's what I did. I got up every day. Like I would wake up at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning and go to the bathroom. And I literally would put on my shoes and socks. And so before I went to the bathroom. And so when I went to the bathroom, I'd be like, well, might as well just go get a walk done.
Yeah, I'm
I got to
already here.
get 5 miles at least. So I got to do it. And, and so it took it was just a lot of, it was a reminder that I had every morning. I woke up, I looked at it, and I had a picture of my kids. I have three kids right next to it, and I was like, "Do it for the kids, man." And so I wanted to just take care of my heart and take care of my health, and um, I just start every day with a walk, and that was easy for me. And also, what was the easiest for me was intermittent fasting. I was like, if I can wake up every day and just drink some black coffee, like, and it doesn't break my fast, then I'm good. I'm satiated. Like,
And did you
I
start the fasting immediately, or did that come
Oh
later?
yeah, yeah. I started when my brother told me about keto. I wanted to get into ketosis as fast as possible, and usually it took me like almost 10 days to get into ketosis. at the beginning, but now, man, if I fast for a couple days and just drink black coffee, I can get into ketosis pretty quick
And you're
now.
doing
And
straight, like n nothing but coffee when you're doing these fasts, just straight.
oh yeah, straight black coffee. Yeah. Yeah.
But no,
Yeah.
so no food at all during the fasting periods, just coffee. And you'll go multiple days doing that.
Oh yeah, yeah. The longest I've gone on a fast, I don't know, I don't necessarily recommend this, but yeah, I went 5 days of fasting just with black coffee and no food, and that for me worked because if I could just drink black coffee throughout the day, I've always been like really lucky that I could work from home. And so all day I would just drink this Folgers coffee. Like it wasn't great. Or I'd get the Pete's coffee,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I got those two at Costco. It was easy. And for me, it was easier not to figure out what to eat every day and just to fast, and just work and take my mind off of it. And then anytime I had a
Sure, you get a lot
window,
done during that time.
oh yeah, just all
Just
caffeine, that's it.
gassed up
But
on coffee and not taking breaks for anything.
But you know what I do now is like it's funny, I've got my fiance, bless her heart. Whenever I'm on the phone, I just pace back and forth. And so literally there are some days where I will be on phone calls so often during the day that I'm in like operations and marketing or whatever. And so I literally just pace back and forth from the living room to the kitchen, around the kitchen to the living room, around the living room, or I'll go outside and I'll go for 3 or 5 miles. It'll take me an hour and I'll be on a call the whole time. And so it's like it's just in my nature now. Like today, right now I already have 13,000 steps for the day because
Yeah.
this morning I had a bunch of calls and I was just on my walk. And I just I have the fortune to be able to I was so fortunate just to be able to walk while I'm on these calls, and
And that's been
I
the
just
key
can't
for
stay
keeping
still,
your activity level up, basically, has been one of the big keys for
Yeah. Yeah, just level up, man, and that's it. It's not all the coffee, I promise. It's not the pot of
you.
coffee.
Sometimes it helps. Sometimes.
It really does help the
Oh
black
yeah,
coffee.
caffeine can be nice.
But when I'm in deep into ketosis, I started putting, oh man, like this is really kind of like the deeper part of weight loss, and when you start doing these extreme measures like keto or like putting a teaspoon of butter in your coffee,
Yeah,
like I started doing that, or I started putting like coconut oil in my coffee, or I would wake up in the middle of the night, just be starving, and I would drink MCT oil or I drink avocado oil. And that's how extreme I am. But for me, like I never felt better, honestly, than when I was in ketosis, man. I
yeah.
loved it. It felt so good. And now I'm trying to really have a more of a balance because, you know, with like going to my fiance's family parties or whatever, like sometimes I'll just get pizza or whatever. And I used to just like strip the bread and I would just take all the toppings and cheese off it and just eat the cheese, which was fine, and all the pepperoni or whatever. Um, or I'd bring over like Costco size of bratwurst and just while they're all eating pizza, I would just be outside cooking bratwurst.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like, I kind of want more of a balance but I'll tell you what, going back to my original thought, you will not find more health experts in your life than when you start doing something extreme like keto.
And then
Everybody
people,
knows it's the worst for you.
yeah. So you started keto at 410, and
Yeah.
it sounds like you went all the way into it. So you were literally just no carbs, straight, just fat was your main source. Were you still eating fairly high protein, or was it
Oh
just
yeah.
mostly fat? So high protein as well.
No, man, I was getting like 200, yeah, like 250 to 280 grams of protein a
That's a
day
lot.
when I,
Yeah,
yeah, it was a ton. Yeah.
yeah.
And I did intermittent fasting as well. So I would stop eating at 6 p.m. on the dot, and then I wouldn't eat again till 2 p.m. the next day. And so I was doing a 20-hour fast,
That's a
and I could
lot of
only
protein
eat,
in four
yeah, I
hours.
could only get
Holy
in that
cow.
much protein in 4 hours. Yeah.
That's like
So
a couple pounds
I'm,
of steak.
oh man,
That's
it
amazing.
was like anything I could find, like protein wise, I was just like shoveling it in my mouth for 4 hours. And like during that time, there's no walk that I'm on, like there's no conference calls, like nothing. It's like that that's a kind of a peak time from 2 to 6, and so I really had to get all my stuff done in the morning with all my coffee, right?
Yeah.
And then from 2 to 6, I was just shoveling food, and it was kind of intense, but I made sure I was super productive by getting everything done at the beginning of the day. And then, during that time, I was just eating. It was kind of crazy. But yeah, it was like couple steaks, couple pounds of, I did a lot of ground beef and eggs.
Yeah.
I did 2 or 3 pounds of ground beef, and then I would do like 12 or 24 eggs at a time, and it
Holy
was
cow.
it was wild. Yeah.
I guess if you're coming off of like the diet of a strongman though, right? Eating,
Yeah.
it's probably 4,000 calories at a sitting probably wasn't too crazy
Not at
considering.
all, but when you're in ketosis and burning fat as fuel, like all my blood markers were perfect. My cholesterol was perfect. My triglycerides, everything was perfect.
Yeah.
And I go get it tested regularly, man. I wasn't shying away from the doctor or anything, but when I was eating a stuffed crust pizza by myself, I would get less criticism by my friends and family than when they'd see me put a teaspoon of butter in my coffee. Like it was
Yeah.
wild. So,
How do you navigate that? I think that's something that everyone runs into, right? You start doing something, you find something that works for you, and then without a doubt, someone is an expert and has to say, "Hey, like, why don't you try this?" Or what? How did you just keep on the path when other people were telling you to do other things?
it just that's where my stubborn nature kind of came into play. And not that I didn't think I was better than anyone else, but it like my friend, I remember he called me on the phone, and he never calls me, and he's like, Josh, I just have to tell you, man, like you live alone. I'm really nervous. Like I don't want you to just die and I can't get a hold of you or
I don't
whatever.
know if it's a
And
good
I
friend
was
or a
like,
bad friend.
I was like, what? I'm like, dude, I've lost 200 pounds. And this guy was, this guy was a bodybuilder. He's taking horse steroids and doing all that crap. And so, I mean, whatever. I mean, but
Yeah,
this guy was doing 200 grams of carbs a day, and I was doing 10 grams, 10 to 20. I was doing 2 pieces of bread every day as my carbs,
yeah,
and that's it. And
about 30,
so,
40, and not a ton.
yeah, so yeah, it was probably like 30 grams of carbs a day. And so then with that, but I like now I can't even eat ground beef anymore because during 2022, I was probably doing 2 or 3 pounds of ground beef every day, and
Just the
um eggs.
fatigue in your palate, I bet you just can't even stomach it, right?
I can't. It's just like, but
Oh,
now, like, it used to be the fat was great, and I used to like from a prime rib, I'd eat the entire prime rib, and now, like, I can't even stand the texture or anything. So I did get kind of burned out. But now I'll do a New York strip or something, which is great with a steak. But I do like now I can still do bratwurst as well as eggs. Like I'll never stop eating eggs. I love eggs, even though they're expensive.
right,
Um,
right. Yeah, now's not a good time to be doing 24 eggs. You
I
might as well be doing
know,
prime rib at that point.
I
So
know, man.
you got
Crazy.
all the way down 200 pounds. So I put you in the mid 200s,
280, yeah.
280. And at that point, you said you kind of got burnt out of just only eating not avoiding carbohydrates, kind of burnt out of the ketosis
Yeah.
lifestyle, and then you
Yeah.
slowly started adding back in other fuel sources as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I started in 2025, 2024 or 25. I started adding back in more carbs. And so when I would go to a pizza party or something like that, I would eat two, maybe three slices of pizza. And as that kind of hit my brain as like go for it, like
Yeah,
down this entire pizza. Like I couldn't because we had a whole family there. Like we had my fiance's family, like they got to eat too. So I can't just be shoveling food in my mouth. And so I'm trying to still transition over into more of a maintenance kind of lifestyle where I still get in 200 grams of protein a day, and so I'm still doing about 800 calories a day of just protein, but now I'm more of just like a 1200 to 1000 calorie guy, so I can eat more carbs, more fat, with the protein and not feel bad about it or not think that I'm failing because I just don't go as extreme. And I really feel like I'm in a good place, because I can, like, this is a 2X shirt right now. Like I feel great in it, like I got
look
some
great.
room, so thanks. I just wanted a compliment from you. I appreciate
So
it.
when you're
Yeah.
transitioning out, how was those first couple times of eating carbohydrates after like almost none? Was that a different thing on your body? Did it feel weird? Was it pretty
Yeah,
normal?
it was kind of scary, man, because I did. Like I told you before, like before we started, I went from 280 to 330. Like I just literally it felt like I woke up one morning, like one day, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm 330 again." Like I just but it was, it's obviously over time, but
Yeah.
it's I still like it felt super quick that I shot up to 330, but I was in ketosis for 2 years. I would test my blood every day. I test my ketones and like I would very rarely get out of ketosis. And if I did get out of ketosis, I'd drink my MCT oil, get right back in, and it was kind of wild. But when I started bringing carbs back into my life, is what I say, I had a very dysfunctional relationship with carbs and sugar because just I wanted to just go for it and just eat it nonstop. And so it was very conscious decision where I'd have to be like, I have to stop. I have to limit this. And where my palate was never satisfied, I would I would eat and then I'd throw in a piece of gum or something. So that was like my mental stopping point where I was like, I have to be done. And thank goodness my fiance is so wonderful that we both kind of fight with this urge to just binge eat, so to speak. And so her kitchen is like a GNC, like everything's high protein chips, high protein, all this
Yeah.
stuff. And so it's it's kind of crazy. Like I told you, I've tried. I am such a passionate bodybuilding weightlifter guy that like I've tried to outwork a bad diet, and that is the biggest thing for me is that you can't outwork a bad diet. You just can't. And
Right.
I've tried it every way, shape, and form. So um, right now I'm doing intermittent fasting. I'll do probably like a 16-hour fast with an 8-hour eating window. And right now I just have more intentional eating is what I call it. And so every day I'll break my fast with 4 eggs, and I won't break it till noon or 1 p.m. And then, I'll eat here and there, and but I'll make sure that I'm very intentional with my eating, so I can keep that in check.
Yeah. So I think you brought up something I think a lot of people struggle with is when kind of balancing the idea of like it's almost easier just to have none, right? When you said it's almost easier when you just didn't have any carbs, and then learning that kind of the Goldilocks, right? Like what's the right amount? How were you able to dial in and actually figure out where to stop when it came to eating your carbohydrates?
Um, you know, one of my biggest things is that I never miss a gym session, right? I try to rest at least 1 day a week, but I never miss my gym sessions. So that for me is huge. So every day I still start my day with a walk, and then I go to the gym, and wake up at 4 a.m. because I don't need a lot of sleep.
Yeah,
And so I just go
and
get
all the
it done.
coffee, right?
Yeah. No, actually I've backed off the coffee a little, but with the intermittent fasting of stopping, I stop every day at 6 p.m.,
Yeah,
like 6 or 7 p.m., and then I won't eat again till noon or 1. And that really helps. It really helps me when I am walking, or like now I walk with a weighted vest, and so I went and got a 60-pound weighted vest. And so this morning before we did this interview, like I had to make sure to get my 5 miles in because I do at least 5 miles a day.
yeah,
And I did that. I do that now with my weighted vest. And so the fact that I do have these non-negotiables of walking every day and hitting the gym every day, that helps me mentally to be like, if I am eating carbs or if I am incorporating carbs now into my life, it's like I only need this amount of food, and I track my food, which I hate. By the way, I still hate it. I still hate tracking my food, but it's really important. It's vitally important to track everything you eat. And it's just kind of what do people say that is? It's like it's a necessity. It's almost like a devil's advocate necessity that you have to do it. And I've learned over the years that I can't just eyeball things and think that I'm in this range of calories. Like I have to track, have to do my workouts, my non-negotiables. My fiance understands that and she supports me, and um, she's, she's amazing, and her family's amazing, and the way that they're so supportive and they don't judge me for what I'm doing, it really means a lot, So I've surrounded myself with the right people, and I just have to mentally keep myself in check so that I can incorporate those things and have more of a well-rounded life, rather than being the guy that shows up with bratwurst every time we have a camp out or a get together.
yeah. Oh, it
Yeah.
sounds it's great that you're able to find like a community. I think that really helps in your
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. It really helps, and it's really been something that has been integral. I mean, there have been a lot of people that couldn't deal with the fact that, like my buddy that I used to talk to all the time, like the fact that I didn't really like eliminate him from my life, but I stopped contacting him as much and telling him what I'm doing as much because I couldn't take the backlash from him not thinking that what I was doing was healthy, even though, we know that some of these bodybuilders that are injecting like steroids and horse steroids every day, like they're not the pinnacle of health either. So
right.
it just kind of, what I had to do is I had to make a decision for myself, what works for me, and what my lifestyle, what I want it to be. And for 2 years that was the ketosis keto lifestyle, carnivore, and now it's high protein and sensible intentional eating. And that works for me.
That's great. I love that. So you brought up training. We talked a ton about diet up to this point. What did your training look like? Did you keep the strongman powerlifting type stuff on top of the walking? You said you had back injuries. How did you navigate that whole part of this problem that you were facing?
Yeah, I won $1,000 for pulling I actually pulled a fire truck in Colorado. It was exciting, and I won $1,000. But then I was in physical therapy for 2 years, trying to help my back. So a
Sounds
thousand
like
went
we're
real quick.
yeah.
So it
Strongman's
was
not a life of luxury. I think we all realize after trying it
uh,
for a little bit.
100%, man. So yeah, the thousand went real quick, and but I was in physical therapy for 2 years, and then my physical therapist started throwing out these programs to do, and I love tracking. Like I said, I it's a no necessary evil is what I was trying to think of. So a necessary evil is the tracking, and so yeah, I right now I'm working with this program. It's called Ladders or whatever. It's on just it's just a workout program.
Like an app.
Really like it. And I track every day how much weight I lift, how often, how many reps, all that stuff. And in my 6 week program, it said I was in the 1% that it said I lifted like over 1.5 million pounds of weights. And
Holy
so yeah,
cow.
I do super heavy. And I love it. And I do this program. It's 6 days a week. And but yeah, with my walks, like going on a walk without a weighted vest, I can't do anymore. Like it
Yeah.
doesn't like my heart rate stays at like 98 and
Yeah.
or like 95, and I have to be above 130 or else I'm not in my fat burning zone. And so now I have to do it with a weighted vest, and it's fine. Like I don't mind the weighted vest, but it's crazy to think about. I was thinking about it this morning when I was on my walk. I was like, I was taking my vest off. It's only
Yeah.
60 pounds. And I was like, I cannot believe that I was carrying this along with, 100 more pounds, like around with my knees and my legs and everything. I was like, literally, I touched my legs this morning, and like I said, God bless you, legs. Thank you for carrying me all these years.
They
I'm so
deserve a raise.
sorry.
They deserve a raise for
Thank you.
have you noticed a lot of like benefit in joint health and that type of stuff since getting lighter? Does that feel a lot better on
Oh
knees?
my heck, man. Yeah, it's kind of crazy, man. I love it. I know we're all people. I know we all have, a similar challenge. And but I'm telling you, I feel like I get treated better. I feel like people give me like their time more. Like
Right.
I don't know. Like it's just kind of crazy. Like I I don't feel like I was necessarily judged too much when I was 480, but maybe because I was so down on myself because I was kind of ashamed at where I let myself get to, that I just like pessimistically looked at everybody else and I'm like, oh, they're judging me or whatever. But I was looking for work at that time when I was the biggest that I have ever been, and I felt like I may have been passed over for a couple positions because I didn't really take very good care of myself. And now, now people are reaching out to work with me and to be around me. And so yeah, I feel like life has gotten much better. And maybe because I'm taking better care of myself, that I feel more optimistic about life and about things in my life that are positive. But yeah, when I was going through my second divorce, I'm like, if I want to do this again, if I want to get married again or find the love of my life or find the person that's right for me, like I'm gonna have to take care of myself and be on this optimal level so that I can then match that with someone else who's on their optimal level. And I feel like I found that, and it's, my fiance, I remember her asking me the dreaded question, the where are we question. And
Right.
she was just like, dare I ask, like, do you want to do this marriage thing again? Do you want to go in that direction? Like, what do you want? And I was like, if it's right, it's right. And I feel like this an invisible string theory with her that we have so much in common, and we have like like this past stuff in common where her dad went to high school with my uncle that I never met. He died tragically in a car accident his senior year, and
Sorry about that.
his dad was supposed to be in the car with him and stuff. Like it was wild, man. Like stuff like that happened, and like we had this like huge connection with like
Yeah,
family and stuff, and it was I feel like because I stepped up and I'm living this life where I'm holding myself to a higher standard and that I'm taking better care of myself, that a lot of my life is kind of coming in order. I'm only 41, but the fact that it feels like my 40s is going to be my greatest era, like that's awesome rather than feeling depressed that I've hit this new this new decade,
right.
this old like my son, my 17-year-old, he always says, Dad, is that how it was in the 1900s? And I'm like, you shut your mouth. But it's cool because I have a good relationship with my son, with my daughters, and I want them to see that they deserve to have someone at their optimal level as well. So yeah, man, I feel like there's my giant answer to your question. Do I feel better, now that I've lost all this weight?
Yeah, no,
So
it sounds like it's made everything better. So as
really has.
far as looking back, what do you think were some of your biggest mistakes that you had to learn the hard way as far as weight loss went?
Um, Biggest mistakes. I think that just getting so comfortable, I we all like all of us as human beings, I feel like I don't want to turn into like a philosopher or whatever, but I feel like we as human beings, we search for comfort, right? And so making sure that I'm not seeking comfort as often as I was when I did get up in weight and start skyrocketing in weight is like all I was searching for was just comfort. I just wanted to be comfortable all the time. And um, now I'm Mr. Like, I want to search for that discomfort. Like, I want to be uncomfortable, a lot of the time. Like, I'll go out when it's snowing, raining, sleet. I don't care if it's sunny. I don't care if there's no sun. I will go outside and I will take, like, anytime you go out at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning, you take a walk for 5 miles, like, that's not comfortable, and,
I
you'd rather be, you know, you'd rather be having a cuddle fest with your pillow, So it's
10 out of
it's
10
like,
times, always better.
yeah. Right? And it's like at the end of every shower, when I'm taking a hot shower or a warm shower, like at the end of every shower, I will turn it to the coldest it can possibly go, and I will stand there for at least 2 minutes and just be uncomfortable for 2 minutes. And it seems like 2 hours in the
Right,
beginning, but now I just want to be uncomfortable so that I don't chase the comfort. Rather, I want to make sure that I'm always pushing myself. But like I told you before we got on here, like sometimes I burn out all my adrenals, like I'll go
it's
to
too
the
far,
gym at
too
5.
long.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'll go to the gym at 5 in the morning and I'll hit it and I will go super duper hard. And then, and then before that, I've got on my 5 mile walk. So when I get done at 6 a.m. and I'm sitting down at my computer, I'm just I like all I want to do is go to bed because I'm so
Yeah,
freaking tired. But it's, you gotta push, you gotta work, you gotta do it. And so that's actually one of the biggest things that I can say was my biggest mistake is that I always was searching for the most comfortable situation that I could be in. And now that I kind of chase the discomfort, I really think that that has helped me to, reach new heights, and not only in my business, but in my personal life, my spiritual life, my physical life, everything psychologically, with my children, like it's all helped. and it's been something that has been just a journey where I'm chasing it. So I'm just trying to go for no all the time. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You brought up comfort, and one of the things you talked about before was when you got kicked off, I think your third walk of shame or your second walk of shame when you got kicked
Yeah.
off of
Yeah.
Magic Mountain, that you
Yeah.
immediately went to food for comfort. And I think that's something a lot of big people we do is we like use food as a way to comfort ourselves.
Yeah.
How did you separate emotional eating out and like comfort eating out? How were you able to overcome that hurdle?
Ooh, that's a good one. Because now I still feel like there are times where like I'll go into the gas station or whatever, and there's every candy bar that I can imagine, or there's these ice cream Snickers that I love more than
Those
anything.
are good.
And
I know what you're talking
yeah, they're
about.
so good. And it's like, I what I do now is when I'm on my walks, um, I will go into the gas station, I'll use the bathroom or whatever, and then I feel like I have to buy something to be courteous or whatever. And so now I'll just get like a pack of gum or something like that, so that I can eat that, on my way home or whatever. But you look at something like a Snickers bar, for example, and I say to myself, if I'm like craving something sugary, then I'm gonna walk to the gas station, which is exactly 2.6 miles away from my apartment. And I'm going to get there. And if I still want it when I get there, then I'm going to get it. I'm going to eat it and then I'm going to walk home. And so 2.6, 2.6, I'm over 5 miles. But it, then I think to myself, okay, in my 5 miles, I've just burned like 800 calories or whatever it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably 850 or something. And then I look at that Snickers bar that was 250 calories, and I'm like, was that worth it to to go walk 5 miles and only net, you know, um, 800
500
minus
calories.
250, 500 calories.
Yeah.
Like, is that worth it to me? And I know that's not how it all works, but that's just the way my brain works. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, and I
yeah,
think
to
you
me,
expanded out, so right, it's just worth it time wise. Like, was it really
yeah,
worth having to give into the craving to go get it to,
sure.
is I think where you're getting at, right?
Yeah, yeah. What's worth it, right? And
Yeah.
so that's what I was told a long time ago by one of my mentors was you're gonna hit this like threshold of like how much you can take. Like what is your threshold of what you can take? Like at your place of work or with your relationship or whatever, we all have these thresholds, and it's like how much of that, how many times are you going to hit that threshold before you break through it and you're like, let's set that bar higher or let's do this or whatever. And so yeah, now when I am craving something, I'm like, yeah, I'll go for a walk, and then when I get there, I'm like, okay, I'll just fill up my water bottle with ice and water or something like that, and I'll do that. And so it's more of just having these internal conversations with yourself, and it's not all about willpower, I don't think. It's about like it's about interrupting that feeling or that craving, and either replacing it with something else, or for me it's activity has a lot to do with it. And so when I am in the heat of doing that activity, you know when I'm going on a 5 mile walk with a weighted vest, like, and it's super hot outside sometimes, yeah, it's not. It's very rarely is it worth it to grab that Snickers bar.
Yeah.
So, and that, like, the thing with me about carbonation is I started drinking some carbonation here and there, and whenever I drink it, I'm like, that wasn't worth it. Like I felt
Yeah.
like crap for like 2 hours afterwards. Like it's not worth it, and so I just don't drink it. And so for me, it's like, what is worth it, what's not, and I just kind of weigh all that stuff out in my head.
I really like that. I think kind of shifting the paradigm and actually
Yeah,
like,
it's all about shifting the
yeah,
paradigm, man. I
looking
like
at the
that.
cost of what you're doing and all of those type of things. So as far as moving forward, what do you kind of look at for your health goals moving forward to keep you going? Is it, do you want to keep losing weight? Do you want to maintain? Where are you at right now?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I want to get down to 250. That's the goal, you know. The 250 goal has been there for a very long time. You know, it's the 250 goal has been there since I crossed my first threshold, which was 300. When I hit 300 for the first time, I was super depressed, I was ashamed, whatever, and then I just kept going. But um I used to be I got down my lowest as an adult when I was 24. I got down to 212 and that for me was too small and so because I've got a lot of muscle mass underneath all this
Right.
insulation that I call it, right? And so and
It's your
so
soft
my
muscle, right? Just wait till you
yeah,
flex.
exactly, exactly. And so my last DEXA scan, I had 196 pounds of lean muscle mass underneath all of it. And so I want to, I think at 250, 250, 260, I feel like I would be like lean enough to be happy and feel like I am still keeping myself in check. But I'd really love to be a solid 250, 260. Like, but I just want to feel good in a t-shirt. I want to have those arm splitting t-shirts. I mean, I
Yeah.
still want to show that muscle, but I also want, like I told my fiance, like I want you to know that I'm like this gentle giant, but if needs be that I could take care of you at any time. I can become the Hulk if you
Yeah.
need me to,
I
So
like that.
this is my thing. Yeah, dude.
That's great. I think I'm pretty much ready to wrap it up. Is there anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up? I feel like we talked about all the things I needed to ask you.
Heck yeah. No, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it so much. You let me just tell my story. And I appreciate beforehand that you were like, hey, man, if you're a health expert, I just want to talk about Josh and your story. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I would never deem myself as a health expert, but I do want to say that, we're all on our own journey. I know we all are. The biggest thing is how comfortable do you feel in your skin? And, my biggest thing is that I always wanted my kids to not be embarrassed to be seen with me or whatever. And I always tell everybody that all you got to do is take that first step, like you can walk anywhere. You literally can walk anywhere at any time. And as anybody is struggling with anything, like you can take that first step forward and just, begin to change your life in any way possible that you want. So that's my message of hope that I try to give everybody whenever I'm talking about my personal weight loss journey. And I just wish you the best, man, and I appreciate you having me on. And it's really cool that you're here in Utah. We'd have to get together and go for a walk or something sometime.
Yeah, yeah, we do. I love rucking and doing that type of stuff too, so it'll be great. Man, I can't add anything to make it any better than what you just said, so we'll just end it there. Thank you to all the listeners for tuning in. Thank you, Josh, for coming on, and we'll just wrap it up.